Hey everyone, it's Miss Frankie. I'm going to be talking about 8.2, which is multiples of fractions. And this is going to kind of be a two-part. We're going to first figure out how to find the multiples of those fractions, and then we're going to be looking at some word problems to go with it. Okay, so I have for us here 3/4. Now to find multiples of fractions, what we're going to be doing is actually just finding the multiples of my numerator. The reason is I'm still staying in fourths so that my jumps or my pieces here are still the same size. I don't want to make a multiple of my fourths because it changes the piece size, and I don't want to do that. I want to have a multiple of 3/4. So find my multiples of 3. Well, my first multiple of 3 is 6, and then my next one is 9. If you don't remember how I found multiples, I just took my number I wanted to use and multiplied it by numbers other than 1. So 3 times 2 is 6, and 3 times 3 is 9. I have a line graph over here, and I wanted to show you that what we're doing is basically jumping by the same each time. So I go to 3/4, so there's 3/4, okay. Then to get to 6/4, I'm going to go the same distance. I go 1/4, make my little mark here, 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, which gets me at this one right here. Now, get my little mark there. If I want to know, well, what that is, I know it's going to be 1 whole because I'm past the 1, and then 1/2/4 after it. Well, let's look at this fraction real quick. 6/4. Well, that's improper, so I'm going to divide. 4 goes into 6 one time, and I subtract, and it's 2, 1, and 2/4. 1 whole, and then 2/4 after it. So this is 1 and 2/4 are 6/4. Then I'm going to jump again. I'm going to go 3/4 again. 1, 2, 3. Now I'm at 2 and 1/4. Well, let's make sure. 9/4. 4 goes into 9 2 times. Subtract 1, 2, and 1/4. So these are multiples. I'm jumping each time 3/4, just like if I was doing a line plot and I was going multiples of 3. I'd have 0, 1, 2, 3. I'd jump to 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I'm still jumping by multiples. 3 is a multiple, 6 is a multiple, and 9 is a multiple. So that's how we find multiples of our fractions. The kids really caught on to this part pretty easily. The next part that we want to talk about is kind of what something that we talked about yesterday, where we were writing a product of a whole number and a unit fraction. Today it got a little challenging, but nothing we couldn't fix. Oh, let me fix that real quick now that I said that. So we have this problem on our homework today. So it says 2 times 4/5. Well, I've got to figure out what 2 times 4/5 is written as a product of a whole number. So 1 whole number, I'm just putting 1 as this, times a unit fraction. So this is what I want to get to. Now, obviously this is not a unit fraction. So what I'm going to do is multiply these together to get an improper fraction, then change to this guy over here, which is what I want. So to multiply, I'm going to put 2 over 1 because 2 is a whole number, and when I do that, I make it into a fraction form. Then to multiply, I multiply the numerators by the numerators. 2 times 4 is 8, and the denominators by the denominators. 1 times 5 is 5. 8/5. Now, 8/5 is not in this form yet over here. So, remembering what I did yesterday, I'm going to figure out how many fifths, because that's my fraction, how many fifths I have. Well, 8/5 kind of says it for me. 8 times 1/5. 8 times 1/5 is 8/5. If I wrote it out, I'd have 1/5 plus 1/5 plus 1/5 plus 1/5 plus 1/5 plus 1/5 plus 1/5. Ooh, that's a lot of fifths. Plus 1/5. 8 different fifths. Well, remembering our multiplication, I just multiply my whole number times my fractional part. So there's 8 of these, so 8 times 1/5. Let's try one more really quick here. Whoa, dropped my pen. If I had 3 times 3/8 and I wanted to write it as a product of a whole number and a unit fraction, same thing. I want to make this into an improper first. So I need to make my 3 over 1 because 3 as a whole number is always over 1. It's kind of understood that that's where it is. Then I'm going to multiply 3 times 3, which is 9, and then 8 times 1, which is 8. So I'm going to ask myself, well, what fractional part? My denominator will tell me that. I'm doing eighths, so I know I'm going to have 1/8 to make it a unit. How many eighths do I have? I have 9. 9 times 1/8. Okay, now the tricky part that a lot of kids seem to struggle with a little bit today was word problems. Okay, I have this problem that I just typed out to see if we could get it on here well. And on this problem, it says Josh is watering his plants. He gives each of 2, and I like to circle as I go, 2 plants 3/5 pints of water. His watering can holds 1/5 pint. How many times will he fill his watering can to water both plants? Now, what I told the kids to do, the problem itself is 2 times 3/5. How did I get that? Well, he has 2 plants, and he needs to water each of those plants with 3/5 pints of water, so 2 times 3/5. However, what we're doing is trying to make this new problem into a math problem using a unit fraction and a whole number. Well, 1/5 is my unit fraction here. So there's 2 ways to go about this. The first way is to just multiply like we've been doing. 2 over 1 times 3/5, which is 6/5, which if I divide, let me try that again. I'm not going to divide it yet. 6/5, so that's telling me that 6 times 1/5. The other way I can do it, which is easier sometimes for the kids to do, is to draw a picture. So I know that he's got 2 plants, and each plant needs 3/5 pint. There's one plant with 3/5, and there's another plant with 3/5. So what we're going to say is, well, how much is he going to need here? Well, 3/5 plus 3/5 is 6/5. Well, I want to know how many times he's going to his watering can, or is going to have to fill up his watering can. Well, same thing. I need to figure out what 6/5 is. So 6 times 1/5. So if his watering can only hold 1/5 of a pint, how many times is he going to fill that up? Well, how many times am I multiplying 1/5? 6 times. So my answer is 6. Okay, if you have any questions on this, let me know. I'm sorry this ran a lot longer than I expected it to. Thanks.